next guy.
My name's Adrian Dickenson. Firstly, what I want to say to start with is I still have tinnitus, I still have the condition. But what I want to speak about is the methods that have helped and enabled me to go from what I call a level 10 with my tinnitus, which was just horrendous, suicide, to what I call a level 1 or 2. But furthermore, I've now got to a point in time where I don't hear my tinnitus at all during the day, and I hear, actually, I have periods of time of what I call true peace and true silence, where the sound is not present at all. So, briefly, how did my tinnitus manifest itself? Seemingly from nowhere, I was just sitting on the sofa with my partner Amanda, and seemingly from nowhere, for no reason, I was struck with a searing pain going through my head and what felt like my ears. Now the pain dispersed as quickly as it had come, but I was left with a high-pitched screech, a tone. It was just awful. I went to and I just thought, what the hell is this thing in my head? What is this? It was so sudden. I visited my GP, who examined my ears, couldn't find anything wrong with me. They referred me to my local hospital, and I went to my local hospital, and again I was seen by a doctor who examined my ears, and as it seems to be the case with most of us, I was actually told by the doctor, there's nothing wrong here, and prescribed some eardrops. And this angered me, and with getting angry, this made the tinnitus worse, and it filled my entire head, so it got worse. So I was then seen by an ENT who performed a number of hearing tests on me and could find nothing wrong with my hearing whatsoever. My hearing was perfectly within normal range of a man of my age. There was no trauma to my ears. So then I went to a private clinic, and I saw an ENT, a neurologist, and an orthotropic specialist. I had MRI tests and further hearing tests, and again, they could find absolutely nothing wrong with my brain or with my ears. Everything was completely normal. So, most bizarre. But it was at this point the ENT at the clinic informed me, again, seems to be a common thing, that I was indeed suffering from a condition known as tinnitus. And what they did tell me was this is a lifelong condition. There is no cure. You will just have to learn to live with it again. So, continuing to find someone of real help, eventually I came across a man who had tinnitus for 20 years, but now lived a tinnitus-free life. And this man was Julian. So I visited Julian, and I was in an awful state at this point. I mean, it was just, I was on the edge. And I visited Julian, and Julian's first words to me were, when I first met him, "Don't worry, Adrian, this doesn't need to be permanent." And immediately, just being around Julian, listening to him, tinnitus is quite an emotional thing, and I'm getting quite emotional now about it. Immediately, he made me feel calmer. And speaking to Julian on that day, when I returned home, the trip home, the sound did seem to have decreased to a degree. So I continued further visits with Julian, and having had treatment by him and learning his methods and my own, I did start to notice a reduction in the volume and the intensity of the sound that I was hearing. It did start to reduce. And at some point I started to have moments, first of all it was just moments, minutes, hours, and then I had 3 entire days of true peace and true, what I call true silence. And the sound was not present. Even when I thought about it, it was not there. My mind had removed it from my conscious thought, and this was just absolute bliss. This happened when I went away on holiday for 3 days, and I just got away from everything that was troubling me in life. I just went away, and for those 3 days, I had true silence. when I returned home, as soon as I walked through the door, it was like somebody flicked a switch and the tinnitus came back. So it's something to do with what's going on in the brain. Further on from that, although I am not cured, what I have learned from using Julian's methods and my own is now today I have got to a place where my usual state of mind is what I call level 1 or 2, and I'm not hearing my tinnitus at all during the day. So why do I believe I was struck with tinnitus if I had no trauma to my ears? What do I believe it actually is? What makes it worse? But more importantly, what methods and practices have helped me to get to this place now where I can have entire days of true peace and true silence? As I say, I've not suffered any noise trauma to my ears, my hearing is fine, so why have I got tinnitus? I believe the cause to be, and this echoes what you were saying, years and years of my adult life of living in a state of emotional stress, anger, frustration, anxiety, depression, basically stress. And a simple way of putting this would be, I think my mind has said to me, I do not like the way you've been treating me for the past 30 years. Wayne, have some of this tinnitus, you need to stop and you need to change. And it's by no means an easy task. It has been akin to trying to change part of my personality, like you say. It's part of who you are. That's the type of person I am. And it has been like changing part of my personality to get this sound to reduce. And I believe that tinnitus is a neurological condition. It is the brain that creates the noise that we hear. Regardless of the initial trigger, whether that be damage to the ear, noise trauma, hair cells, etc. Either way, it is the brain, I believe, that creates the sound that we hear. It is the mind that we need to feel. So what helps and what doesn't? What reduces my tinnitus and what increases it? Firstly, what makes it worse? The obvious one for most people that doesn't really need any explanation is loud noise. We all know this. Loud noise can be detrimental to tinnitus sufferers. Also, diet, I think, plays a factor. Some food types seem to aggravate my tinnitus, particularly large amount of carbohydrates for some reason seem to aggravate it. I can't eat pasta for some reason, it seems to aggravate the sound I hear. And I have had experience with medications that at first seem to help me, but then it's at a detrimental cost and in fact made me worse. I was prescribed a drug called gabapentin by my doctor, which I believe is used for epilepsy sufferers. And at first, this seemed to help, and it did bring the sound down. But it was at a cost, because not only is it pinpointing the parts of the brain, wherever they may be, that are causing the tinnitus, it affects everything. And I found that my voice started to slur, and it's the reason I'm wearing glasses, I believe, because my eyesight was absolutely perfect before I took this drug, so I came away from that. So be careful with medications. However, more interestingly, I believe that tinnitus is deeply connected to our emotional state of mind. And why do I believe this? I found that negative emotions cause my tinnitus to rise in intensity and volume. And if I get angry or stressed or any other negative emotions, I can literally feel it coming back into my head and going up in volume. And where I work, I used to be a spokesperson for the staff, and I used to get into a lot of conversations and play verbal chess with the hierarchy at my place of work. And I used to enjoy doing this. I used to get a kick out of doing that. But it wasn't doing me any good. And I found that when I got into those situations, after having tinnitus, it made it worse. So I completely came away from that, and now I just let things be, and I do not get involved in conversations like that at all. I just completely let everything just happen. So when I remain calm, my tinnitus remains at a lower intensity to the point where I don't hear it. So what methods and practices have enabled and helped me to get to this point and continue to help me, I hope, on a path to what will be a full recovery from tinnitus. I've found many methods that have helped me, but the main factors or methods would include cranial sacral therapy. And why do I think this helps? One of the biggest factors I believe in reducing tinnitus is calming down and relaxing the nervous system. And I think one of the problems in modern day life for a lot of us is that our brains, our minds have literally forgotten how to reach a truly calm and relaxed state. Even when I used to tell myself I'm calm, I'm relaxed, in truth I wasn't at all. And I remember I had a cranial session with a local therapist, and I was laying on the bed and he said, right, relax. And I thought, well, I'm relaxed. And I wasn't at all, because my head wasn't even in contact with the pillow properly. So I wasn't there. I thought I was, but I wasn't at all. And a revelation for me was, and Julian is mainly to thank for this, a revelation was that I discovered my brain had forgotten how to actually be truly relaxed and in a calm state. And cranial sessions, literally, this is how I feel about it, cranial sessions literally taught my mind to remember how to relax again. And that's how I feel about it. Meditation and hypnotherapy, again, all about calming the nervous system. In the case of hypnotherapy, when I was first struck with tinnitus, I would listen to what can be described as self-hypnosis audio or meditation audio tapes. And the premise of these were to get the mind to reprioritise the sound, that it's not a threat and it doesn't need to listen to it, and as you said, to be safe. And this seemed to help a lot. And the same with meditation. And I continue to try and strive to make this a permanent mindset of being in this relaxed, calm state. It's not always possible, of course, because life just doesn't, it's just not like that. Things come along like today. And the train journey up here, we almost didn't make it because someone was hit by a train, and we thought we're not going to make it, but luckily I don't think it was too bad, and we finally got here. Also, body-based practices such as Tai Chi and yoga. I practice Tai Chi. Working out in the gym. For me, I find these are a way of allowing the mind to leave itself, as has already been said, to leave itself and go into the body. Or another way of putting it is, I find this a way of allowing the brain to take a break from itself. So when I'm working out at the gym, or I'm practicing my Tai Chi, my brain is leaving itself, I'm not thinking, I'm constant, it's actually going into my body and it's taking a break from itself, and I find this very, very helpful. Because when I used to train at the gym, I used to train very, very aggressively. You hear it all the time at the gym, from especially guys, they get very aggressive, all of this kind of stuff. That is not helpful for tinnitus, and that's what I found. So I train in a different way now. It's a similar way to when I'm practicing Tai Chi. It's much more mind over body type experience. So, as I say, there are other practices and methods that have helped me to get where I am today, including counselling, going through life issues that you didn't actually realise. I found that when I had counselling, I had a lot of issues whirling around in my subconscious that I hadn't processed. Life issues like we all had, that were causing me stress, but I wasn't actually consciously aware of it. And having counselling and processing all of these things and these emotions, I also found that very, very helpful, and that helped me to calm down, and in this, my tinnitus again reduced. So, the brain realising it doesn't need to tune into this sound to a point where, for me now, it does remove it from my conscious thought and peace returns to me. And so I believe, to end with, if the mind, as is with myself, if my mind is capable of removing the sound that I hear as my tinnitus for these periods of time, including entire days, if it's capable of doing that, then it is capable of removing it permanently.